and welcome to another edition of Trade Talk TV. Today we have Andrew Buckman from OpenX in the office. Andrew, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Andrew's in here to talk about traffic quality. It's a big issue in our industry at the minute, and obviously there's a lot of fraud and bad traffic in the space at the minute, and there are companies working very hard to sort of address the problems, and OpenX are one of them. Obviously technology changes all the time, and you need to have process as well as technology. So Andrew's here to talk about what OpenX are doing. Andrew, obviously it's a big problem. What are you doing around the space at the minute?
So we're basically trying to keep one step ahead of everybody. We're trying to keep a virtuous circle going through of focusing on traffic quality to make sure there's buyer engagement and good ad quality as well. And then basically keep coming up with new generations of platform just to basically keep the fight going.
So obviously the fraudsters and the people who are trying to sort of defraud the system are iterating all the time. So as well as building tech, you have to have processes in place, human sort of stop gaps as well. So let's talk about what OpenX are doing, because obviously you've got great tech and you're building that into to ensure quality of traffic, but you've got a process around as well. So let's talk about today how you build that process and how you work that into the system.
Yeah, sure, certainly. So I'll draw something up on the board.
Sure.
More convenient to press play. So basically, as I was saying, we've got this virtuous circle which we're going to do, which is if we focus on traffic quality, then that increases buyer engagement, which in turn makes them improve ad quality. And then with better ads, you get better traffic quality, and so on and so on. So if we can keep innovating in that space to make sure that keeps going, then it just improves the experience for everybody. So we've got a kind of 3-step ongoing process. Which is basically, it starts off with a kind of a pre-launch screening. So kind of site screening. And this is a human element. So what we've done is we've defined these processes where we kind of mix up a human and a technology aspect together. Because up until now, there's nothing that we've found which is as good as the human eye for actually ferreting out the stuff right at the beginning. So what we have, got about 5% of the company that is dedicated just to looking at every single site that comes onto the network and vetting that for suitability before. So they look at all sorts of different things like user engagement, like the content, like the age of the site, like the different elements.
So you're manually whitelisting the URLs that come into the system, into the exchange.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And we reject at this stage. We reject about 30 to 40% of sites.
What kind of criteria are we talking about here specifically?
So we look at things like user engagement.
Yeah.
So how much interaction there is with the sites and maybe with different social networks. We look at the content on there to see if that is there unique content, is there quality content on there, or is it just like a collation of different sources and feeds.
Yeah.
We look at the name and the age of the URL just to see if that's something that's just been set up in the last few minutes or so, and at a number of different points.
So you mean that basically just sort of they're taking content, feeding into a site? Because we had a gentleman on Miko who was talking about the process of actually how fraudsters work in terms of them setting up the site and bringing it. It's not actually original content. So you check that to see if it's original content, if it's quality content.
Yeah, absolutely. I looked at his talk. Yeah, he was talking about setting up WordPress sites in there and taking like 5 minutes to do that. You do that, you can come up with something that looks fantastic because you've got these great templates.
Yeah.
But if a human actually takes a proper look at that site,
it's crap content.
They'll realise the content isn't of any decent quality. So we do that. And so because of that, we throw out about a third of the sites that come to us for review. And so then on an ongoing basis, we've also got some real-time filters. And this is where the machines come in. And this is the technology solution. And here we see millions of different requests that come through every day, and we actually reject millions on a daily basis.
So are we at the vetting process here, or is this the sort of like impressions that are available in Exchange?
This is live. This
Right.
is stuff that comes into the Exchange and is looking for either sort of or for advertisers to bid on them
Yeah.
and presenting themselves as kind of publishers.
So what kind of filters does the technology have? What are we looking for? How does it spot like fraudsters and bad sites? Like bad impressions?
So here we look at things like the user agent, the IP. We look at the different cookies that are supposedly on the machine. We look at the referrer URL to see where they've come from and whatever kind of browser history we've got.
Yeah.
I'll go into a little bit more detail about that in a second. And then kind of the third and final section is ongoing monitoring. And this is kind of a weekly, or one part of this is a weekly scrub, where basically we've got a big partnership with Integrated Ad Science, where we'll look at the ad quality, we'll look at the brand safety, we'll look at the viewability, and we'll look back on that on a regular basis, and we'll scrub out poor performing sites that are based on that. So that's really kind of what's saying safety and viewability. And so the big investment in terms of technology is this section here.
Yeah.
And here we've got two main types of process, which are, one is this is where my artistry really kind of comes into it. It's a kind of big data of look at things.
Yeah.
And they were really looking at what is going on at sort of masses and masses of data. So here we've got we use Hadoop for this, and this is really like I could probably compare it to the really kind of classic and traditional credit card fraud analysis techniques. So where they look at just masses and masses of transactions as they happen, and also as after they've happened, and trying to spot different trends and different things that are going on in real time. And then the second aspect is a more of a user focused aspect. And there you've got a guy who's at their desk on their desktop, and then we've got code that's actually on the computer. So it's a JavaScript code, which is looking in real time at what that person is doing, looking at and trying to actually look at and discover symptoms of non-human traffic behaviour.
So effectively, JavaScript is searching out bot-like behaviour, basically.
Yeah.
And then sort of you're able to potentially look at the patterns that these bots do, and then spot them as they're sort of as they're sort of trying to defraud.
Yeah, because I mean, if you've got code on a computer and you look at the response times, the load times for a site, you can see there are differences between if it's just a normal human being looking at a site, or if it's a bot that's actually somewhere in the background and it's taking a load of processing time. And this is kind of similar to the chip you get on a credit card, where it's actually trying to detect fraud at each particular transaction. So this is as it happens.
So is this as the ad loads, JavaScript loads in the page, and then you can assess whether that actually is a bot or a fake user, effectively.
Exactly, yeah. So as the ad unit loads up, really at this stage, what we're trying to do is prevent any kind of activity on that ad unit. At that stage, is the impression being sold? No,
I mean, no, it hasn't.
It hasn't been up for
It's
bid.
pretty big. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
We've detected this in the exchange.
Right.
We've detected this has come onto this user's computer. Someone's focusing both this URL and this user. And we're trying to decide if that's a legitimate request or not.
Yeah.
And if we decide it's not, it doesn't even go up for bidding anyway.
So this is interesting. Is this applied to your Open Exchange? Because obviously Open Exchange is coming for a lot of criticism in the industry regarding fraud and fake traffic. So is this kind of applied to your Open Exchange? I mean, people talk about PMPs and sort of the evolution of the PMP. It's a safe place to buy, but it's obviously difficult to scale. It's a difficult process. But the Open Exchange is this sort of, does this relate to it and can be applied to it?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. This is on the Open Exchange today. We're now in the third generation of this traffic quality platform. And it's really what I was referring to earlier about this virtuous circle of by focusing on traffic quality in the open exchange, we'll make sure that everything else that comes in there is of the highest quality too.
And it's obviously working because I saw a report recently saying that your traffic quality's improved dramatically over the last 6 to 12 months, better than Google. So this is more of an iterative process. You're trying to iterate this process to stay ahead of the fraudsters.
Yeah, this is, as I said, about 5% of the company that is dedicated to this from a human resources point of view. We've also taken a massive investment both in terms of sort of putting money down to do this development, but also in the sacrifice we took in terms of revenue. When we looked at this we started doing this about 2 or 3 years ago, we decided to take a 30% cut in the inventory that was going through the exchange.
Yeah.
And that's a hard conversation to have,
Yeah.
because you're actually purposefully saying, well, I'm going to write this money down.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the board and tell them we're going to take 30% off of the number, and here's why. And now, with this latest Pixelate report, which shows we're ahead of Google in terms of quality on all of the inventory, it is starting to pay off.
And what about the buyers? I mean, obviously your clients are DSPs and trading desks and independent trading desks and even ad networks. I mean, what's their feedback from this? Are they seeing the quality? Are they seeing this working in their favour now? Are they coming back to, the open exchange is work for us, congratulations, etc.
Yeah.
But what kind of feedback are you getting back?
Yeah, we're getting really positive feedback. They're noticing the improvement in quality. They're giving us. They're also sort of talking about improvements in just basic trust, which means that they are prepared to bid higher on particular sources of inventory when they can actually trust the quality of their inventory. Because there is this intrinsic trust in the quality of that and the lack of fraud in that.
Yeah. Andrew, thanks very much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
And that was Trader Talk TV. We'll see you next week.